In July of 1970, in the Apollo 13 mission, to save the lives of the astronauts, to get back from the orbit of the moon safely back to Earth, was like standing in Boston at the Boston Common, throwing a tennis ball and making it reach the weather vane that was on the old State House and having it come back and land in your hand. How ridiculous is that? Well, those were essentially less than the odds of those three astronauts on Jim Lovell's crew to get safely back to Earth. They had 2 parts of their oxygen blown away, lending the service module just about completely dysfunctional. They had to live in a contraption which was nothing more than, interior, exterior, tinfoil, really, that separated 300 degrees difference between shadow and sunlight. And virtually all the oxygen they had was in that limb. And all it was supposed to do is go from the command module, which was orbiting the moon, to the moon's surface and back. Maybe a few nautical miles each way. They were working with computers that were no better than probably 1/10 of the power that you have right now in your laptop. They were very crude, but they took up the size of 2 full rooms. They were working with very crude instrumentation compared to what we have now. Their GPS, if you will, was in the service module, and they had to shut it down because they would never get back into re-entry. They wouldn't have anywhere to get their booster rockets, and they'd be floating in space forever. That is, get their booster rockets to fire. They were having a problem since they had no computers. Every breath of air that they took in, which is natural to do, they were letting out carbon dioxide. Did you ever get in your car? Hopefully not. Close the door. Unless you have a death wish, start your car and make it run. Yeah, you died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Well, that's what was happening with them. Every breath of air that they took in of oxygen, they let out carbon monoxide, and their CO2 levels were killing them. So think of those types of odds of surviving. You have half the PhDs on the planet in NASA, Kennedy Space Center, trying to figure out how to get them back. But they needed to get the best of the best which they had, who are all specialists in their field, and figure out a way to pool their energies together to redesign a whole new strategic plan so they could get safely back to Earth with all of these odds against them. Now, if that isn't leadership and pulling teams together when an emergency like this occurs, then I don't know what is. What I'd like you to do is, after you listen to this video, I'm talking on, I'm giving you now. I'm going to put an excerpt from the Apollo 13 movie with Tom Hanks, where Gene Kranz, the director of flight control, would have to pull a team together in a very short period of time to save these astronauts' lives. These teams were not cross-functional teams. They were specialists in their own field. He would have to make them cross-functional so that they would be able to come up with a plan, getting all of their specialties and putting them together, where Gene Kranz made it clear that failure was not an option. I'd like you to listen to that excerpt of what he needed to do to pull these people together. It's coming up next, after this one.